Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. An interesting development in the women's super featherweight division happening in the background of this weekend's contest between Alicia Baumgartner, the champion, and Beaudoin Shin, the latest challenger. Layla Beaudoin, who was in action against Alicia not but 2 fights ago for Layla, just 1 for Alicia. Not only has Layla since rebounded off that decision loss to Alicia Baumgartner, but she's already scheduled another fight, and it just so happens to be a WBA final eliminator against up-and-comer from Colombia, Paulina Angel. You may be familiar with that name. That's the same Paulina Angel that Stephanie Hahn made her MVP debut against and suffered an early scare when Paulina knocked her down, knocked her on her ass. That is who Layla will now be facing in a super featherweight contest scheduled for 10 rounds. Paulina sports a professional record of 7 wins with 2 losses and 2 draws, 3 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 11 professional bouts, to Layla, who sports professional record 14 wins with 2 losses and no draws, 2 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 16 professional bouts. Promoted by Eye of the Tiger Management, who just so happened to have a DAZN deal to broadcast their Canadian fights here in the United States. Last in action earlier this month, on the 9th, opposite the ring, former IBF lightweight champion Victoria Noelia Bustos of Argentina, who Layla decisioned over 10 rounds. That not only got her back in the winner's bracket, but allowed her to segue to a WBA final eliminator. She's going to be facing Paulina Angel, who, if my memory serves me, is no pushover. That girl can fight. Layla's going to have to work for her meal, work for the victory, but if she can get it, she's back in line to fight Alicia for a second time, which begs the question, how long does Alicia plan on staying in the super featherweight division, tearing down a potential Caroline Dubois fight for fights like this? A rematch with Layla Beaudoin. Is that supposed to be bigger? Is that supposed to be better? Because so long as she stays there, that's what's in the queue. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to get ordered. And that is where this gets interesting. It's either Layla wins the fight and gets back in the queue to fight Alicia, or she gets in line to become the latest champion at this weight. Alicia Baumgartner, since having become undisputed champion, has already given up at least one of her alphabet titles that is now held by Canada's own Caroline Vieira, WBC champion. If Layla gets back in the queue, will she then give up that one, the WBA title, and will Layla become the next champion crowned in this division? That would give the Canadians 2 champions in the super featherweight division, and it could happen that way. As Alicia's stock continues to plummet in some circles, people just aren't having it. They see no real reason, no good reason for her to delay the Dubois fight for fights with fighters that in all likelihood won't happen, like a Katie Taylor fight or an Amanda Serrano fight. None of that shit is gonna happen. I am just the chronicler, observing what's happening in the sport of boxing and what is likely to happen as a result. If Alicia wins this weekend, wins tonight, and she doesn't follow it up with a big fight, her stock is going to continue to take a hit. It's going to continue to plummet. I've noticed in recent weeks and months that the boxing community has grown impatient with Alicia. It's been a long time since she gave them a big fight, a long time since she had a standout performance, something that makes you say, wow. We have to see how she makes out tonight, and then after that, in June, we have to see how Layla makes out to really get an idea what's next. Men's junior middleweight news. The IBF has ordered Murtazaliev versus Agyarko for the mandatory slot at 154. The IBF has officially ordered the former junior middleweight champion and number 5 ranked contender to take on the number 4 ranked Agyarko in a final eliminator. The winner of that bout will become the mandatory challenger to Josh Kelly's crown. The announcement comes on the heels of unfortunate news. Brendan Adams, the number 3 in the IBF rankings, and coming off a win over Sergey Boachuk, was scheduled to face Agyarko on April 11th for that mandatory slot. However, on the day of their weigh-in, Adams collapsed in his hotel room and was immediately hospitalized, leading to the cancellation of their bout. With Adams recovering, the IBF wants to keep the division moving. Murtazaliev has already informed the sanctioning body that he plans to participate. It stated it's unclear whether Agyarko will follow suit. The 29-year-old Irish native is undefeated, but figures to be the underdog should the deal be finalized. Agyarko, 18-0 with 7 KOs, went life and death with fringe contender Ishmael Davis last September, winning a split decision. For Murtazaliev, this is a chance at redemption. The 33-year-old Russian lost his IBF title to Josh Kelly on January 31st via a majority decision. Soon after, Murtazaliev filed a petition for an immediate rematch. The petition was denied, but the sanctioning body ranked him in its top 5. Ultimately, even if Murtazaliev were to beat Agyarko, a rematch with Kelly won't happen anytime soon. The newly minted title holder is said to be in deep negotiations with Sebastian Fundora, the division's WBC champion, and the winner of their proposed bout would hold 2 titles. Also, Eddie Hearn, Kelly's promoter, said he'll attempt to arrange for the winner of that bout to face the winner of Zayas versus Ennis for the undisputed crown.
When I first caught wind of this news, I wondered to myself, should Bakram even go through with it? Because it could be a long while before he gets his crack at the apple. And even if Josh Kelly just beat him, that was under extenuating circumstances. Bakram had been out of action for over a year after the entire division avoided him.
The stars just sort of aligned for Josh Kelly to get that fight with Bakram in the right place at the right time, enough for him to win a points decision. But I wonder if Bakram would have been more active in the previous year, if he weren't shaking off ring rust.
Would that fight have worked out the same way?
I mean, I know that Bakram looked rather robotic and simple against Josh Kelly, who, as he often does, made himself a moving target, and that matters.
But it also matters that the guy had not fought in over a year.
And I really wonder if participating in this final eliminator will bear fruit for the now former champion. He can beat Agyarko, of that I'm confident.
You can fuck him up.
But then the waiting game begins again, waiting for someone to step up to the plate and take him on willingly, because he won't get his crack at the apple right away. A Fundora fight could come first, and after that, an undisputed title fight. And what's that, about a year?
It could take upwards of a year or more for Bakram to finally get that title shot. So is this really the right course of action? Now, the IBF has already confirmed that he does mean to participate in this final eliminator, but that doesn't make it the best course of action. What is?
I can think of at least 2 alternatives for Bakram that might bear fruit sooner than going the IBF route at junior middle. What about going up the middle?
What about getting in line to fight for a title up there? Bakram is not a small junior middleweight. He's got height, he's got length.
The middleweight division is an open book, ripe for the taking for any capable fighter that can breathe life into it. And I think that Bakram could make himself a very interesting player at middle as opposed to junior middle, where they're just going to avoid him for as long as they are allowed to.
All the guys at 154 right now are going to eventually move up to 160. If you beat them to the punch and get up there first, win a title first, you might be a little bit harder to ignore than before.
And that is just one alternative. The other one I can think of is going to Zmufa, migrating over to Zuffa Boxing like Chris Billum-Smith just did, and Ryan Rozicki, Richardson Hitchens, Edgar Berlanga. They can keep you active. They can keep you busy.
Put more money in your pocket than you've been making. Because it's not like Bakram is making all that much money.
Yeah, maybe for some other fighter that's making 7 figures on average, it doesn't make sense to go to Zuffa, but that definitely isn't Bakram. Bakram is just the kind of fighter that could benefit from going to Zuffa. Remember how the sport of boxing, the conventional sport, treated this guy. When he became IBF mandatory in 2019, what the PBC did was pay him to step aside several times and kept him on the non-televised portions of their shows. You didn't even see his fights.
This is what regular boxing did.
Some time passes. He finally becomes IBF champion, gets a breakout win over Tim Kazoo,
Announcing himself to the world.
What does the world do? What does the boxing world do? ignored a guy for over a year. That's what regular boxing did to this guy. That is the system that some people are working to defend, where at least at Zuffa, he can fight on a regular basis and on a big platform. He's already confirmed that he means to participate in this IBF final eliminator, but I don't know that he should. I don't know that that's the right course of action. Becoming a mandatory doesn't guarantee you'll get the big fights, because when you were a world champion, they didn't want to fight you then.
All it guarantees is when the time comes, the IBF will order the fight, but they can't guarantee that the winner, whoever ends up being the last man standing, will give you an opportunity. That they can't guarantee.
He can do what he's going to do. I do believe if he gets Agyarko in the ring, he can beat Agyarko and get back to his winning ways. Back in the winner's bracket. But you go back to winning, these guys will go back to avoiding you. That's how I see it.
Men's heavyweight news. Netflix unveils Tyson Fury versus Fury-Makhmudov viewership numbers. The streaming giant announced on Tuesday that an average minute audience, AMA, of 5 million people in the UK alone tuned in to watch Fury's unanimous decision win over Fury-Makhmudov at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The event, which was promoted by The Ring, also attracted 200 million impressions across Netflix's global social channels. Fury vs. Makhmudov was Netflix's 5th live boxing event, having previously streamed Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson, Katie Taylor vs. Amanda Serrano 3, Canelo Alvarez vs. Terence Crawford, and Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. On the undercard, Conor Benn beat Regis Prograis, and 150-pound catchweight 10-rounder Richard Riakporhe won the British heavyweight title by stopping Jamie TKV, and Justice Hooney marginally outpointed Fraser Clark.
I want to say that 5 million viewers in just that area, just the UK alone, I believe that is a strong number. I think so. Which doesn't even speak to how well the fight performed overall on a global scale, Netflix being a global streaming platform available in many, many markets. I am curious as to what the fight did in those other boxing markets, particularly in the United States, that has an even bigger pool to draw from and has many, many Netflix subscribers and boxing fans who wouldn't have had to pay anything extra to see this fight in the afternoon. I'm actually a little bit surprised that those numbers haven't come out yet. Just the 5 million in the UK, that's what's being reported.
Did it underperform? Was Netflix expecting more?
Thus far, the biggest event they've had on the platform in terms of a live boxing match was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. And I said it then, you're sort of climbing the mountaintop with that one, because in terms of casual notoriety, not just boxing fans, but casual observers, it really doesn't get bigger than Mike Tyson.
It's not going to. Tack on Jake Paul's social media presence, and you have all the ingredients for what is a very big event.
Albeit not a conventional boxing match. I think the second biggest event they did was the Canelo versus Crawford fight.
The third, I think, was Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua.
The fourth would have been Fury versus Makhmudov, and the fifth would have been Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 3.
But did Fury versus Makhmudov underperform? Was Netflix expecting more, and that's why they're not bragging about these numbers? It is a bit peculiar that it's been about a week since the fight, and Netflix didn't come out ranting and raving about how well it performed on their platform.
Two-weight world champion and Hall of Fame inductee, Timothy Bradley, he had a theory about that. He had some thoughts about that.
Look, Fury, he come back, he retired, he come back, he retired. No, ain't nobody worried about no damn Tyson Fury. Shit, I ain't missed no damn Tyson Fury when he was gone. Nobody. That's what one thing that Tyson and all y'all fighters got to understand is that, dog, when y'all gone, nobody miss your ass, because there's always somebody else coming up. Don't nobody miss your ass. I promise you that. Shit, even when you die, you might have one or two people, you know what I'm saying, that miss your ass. But other than that, everybody else you done met and went through life, they don't miss your ass. You just, hey, you gone. You ain't here. Out of sight, out of mind. That's what it is. Yeah, we here and we gone. That's it. Same thing in the boxing.
So if these periodic bouts with retirement finally started to catch up to Tyson Fury, where it's hitting him in the pocket, where it's hurting his marquee value?
I don't know. I mean, Turki Al-Sheikh confirmed on X that the attendance for his fight was about 64,000. That's a lot of people. It doesn't set a record.
Still a lot, and that was 64,000 for a tune-up fight. Just imagine what he could draw with Anthony Joshua. Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle, to where the boxing community at large is not all that enthused with Tyson Fury. Not anymore. They're not charmed by him, and they're kinda tired of seeing him retire, then unretire.
The whole production, the whole dog and pony show.
Show that's supposed to cap off with an Anthony Joshua fight, as Anthony Joshua has been offered a 2-fight deal, which includes Tyson Fury. Boxing financier Turki El Sheikh has reportedly offered Anthony Joshua a 2-fight deal, which includes a Tyson Fury fight, according to Matchroom chairman Eddie Hearn. It is the latest development following confusing scenes that unfolded in London on Saturday, when nobody appeared on the same page after Tyson Fury's lopsided win over Makhmudov, his first fight since back-to-back losses against Usyk in 2024. Now Fury has unretired and returned to the ring. He appears ready for AJ and even called him out when his career rival was ringside for the Makhmudov fight at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Netflix.
But Anthony Joshua didn't even stand up, let alone enter the ring for a face-off that would, no doubt, have gone viral. Instead, he stayed seated, said something about being a landlord, and that Fury works for him, not the other way around, except perhaps everyone works for Turkey, and it's he who has presented an offer. I think that is where the author of this article sort of got it wrong. I think that Anthony Joshua staying seated and not entering the ring, it wasn't just an act of defiance against Fury, it was also an act of defiance against Turkey, who is so obviously partial to Tyson Fury. But to make this work, you need AJ, and AJ doesn't work for you.
So Joshua doesn't go into the ring after the fight. And I think Turkey and Fury looked absolutely foolish. It turns out the fight with AJ isn't signed, so there's no stare down after. Just Fury yelling awkwardly down at Joshua, who's just sitting there chilling like, I'm not going in the ring. I'm not doing anything you say. I don't have to. I didn't sign anything. The fight is still being negotiated. I just can't believe that they didn't have something signed, sealed, and delivered on such a grand stage.
What do you mean you can't believe? What do you mean you can't believe that that's what happened? Of course, this is, for the way things have gone.
Turkey has done a lot of great for the sport, but he still has not figured out how to announce a fight properly.
He gets excited. He gets very excited.
He gets excited. He's like a fan.
When Anthony Joshua first decided to not climb in the ring and do the face-off with Fury, I gotta admit that at first, I was annoyed by it, because I want to see the boys get it on, just get on with it. But after the dust has had time to settle, and I've had time to process what it was, not only do I respect Anthony's decision to stay seated, to do things on his own terms, I support it. Because Turkey, you want to keep putting this guy on a pedestal when I'm the guy you need. I'm the money. This guy just told you if it's not me,
You're going back to retirement.
because I'm the money, not him. If I decide to forego your plans, I'm still the biggest fight for a Fabio Wortley, for an Agit Kabayel, and pretty much everybody in this division. I don't march to the beat of your drum. I don't work for you, and I don't do what he says.
If you want to put him on your pedestal, you can do that.
But I ain't gonna do it with you while you undermine my role in all of this. I'm the landlord. I'm the money. You don't think so? Go ahead and try to do another Tyson Fury fight on Netflix that doesn't involve me.
Me!
I get it now. I respect it. Not only do I respect it, I support it. You show these guys who's boss, Oluwafemi.
You tell him.